My name's Helen Rutherford, and I am founder of Emotional Respite Disability Counselling Service. I became a counsellor back in 2007. I started my training, and from there I worked in a lot of different areas to develop my skill set. And I worked in GP surgery. I've worked at Newcastle University. I've worked at Rape Crisis Helpline. I've got a lot of experience in a lot of different settings. And after a little while, it became apparent that with my health conditions, because I myself have spinal muscular atrophy type 2, that it was quite difficult for me to balance work and my health. So I started my own private practice in 2014, and then I studied a lot further into online therapy so that I could work from home a lot more. And this actually developed and sparked an interest in developing a service which was both accessible to people with disabilities and who might also have restrictions getting to appointments, and maybe wanting to have therapy from home as well, but also introducing the idea that therapy could be more accessible because you could use assistive technologies to access it in this way. And so my service is really a disability-led service. All of my therapists have lived experience of disability, whether that's visible or invisible, and we all have that, obviously, that knowledge of what it's like to live with a disability, which I think is incredibly important when relating to the clients that we work with. So yeah, we've got a great group of people at the moment. I'm trying to build and continue to grow the service. During the pandemic, there was a massive increase in demand. So that is when I started to expand the service. But we do work in a range of mediums as well to make it accessible. So we work not only in video and audio, but we can also work in email therapy. So if people do have speech and language problems and they do wish to access therapy, that we can do that in different means as well. Okay, so I mean, I employ my own PAs. Obviously, like I said earlier, I do balance kind of like my health around my work. I am a bit of a workaholic, I have to admit, but so my PAs would obviously come in and help get me up in the morning. I often try and do a lot of my work in the afternoons and evenings because that's when I feel that I'm at my best. My PAs would help me set up for the day, get some lunch, just like look after my house, help me obviously set up for my day in my office, because I've got my own therapy room which is behind me, which I love. But I think really it's for me, it's like just like really nice to have really like great PAs who understand that it's really important for me to work. It's really important that I have like interest and that they can support me to achieve my goals. And I'm very lucky to have some great people working for me. Yeah, I mean, I think there was a big increase in people coming to therapy during lockdown because of the isolation that they were feeling. Obviously, we were all in a grief and loss process because we lost our freedoms, we lost our choices, we lost our ability to do a lot of different activities that support us in a lot of ways. A lot of people thrive on social connection, and I think it was really important to have a service that not only understood the challenges of the pandemic, but what it's like to be in a pandemic with a severe disability, for example, because again, then you've got the added worry of protecting yourself and the risks of like getting COVID yourself and what that would mean for you, and obviously the fear of potentially going into hospital without any support. There was a lot of fear around that. So I've worked with numerous people around those like fears and anxieties, and trying to help support people just to know that they're not really alone in that. And then I think there's still an increase again potentially that I'm seeing now that the lockdown is easing, because now people have anxieties about returning to normal, whether or not they're putting themselves at risk, whether they weigh up like the pros and cons of how they do protect their health. And so I think that it's still there's still a huge demand for mental health services at the moment. I definitely don't think mental health is on par with physical health in terms of um, how people view it. I would really love for us to get to that place where we do view it as the same, because I think that still there is times when people might not access the help that they need because they don't often want to admit how they're feeling, or they find it difficult to talk about. And I think one of the things that I noticed with having an online service is a lot more men access the service who I think potentially wouldn't access the service if it was face to face. And I think as well, like having an online opportunity as well, I think it creates more access to services, not only because of working like as I do with different mediums, but also it means that you can do it from home. You don't need to tell anybody about it. You don't physically need to go to an appointment. You can do it on your own terms. You can create your own privacy around that. Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's incredibly important because when you live with a disability, you know all of the different barriers that impact on you. You know about the social model of disability, the medical model of, and you know about ableism. You know about all of these nuances that impact on you, and you understand the logistics of disabled living. And I think that's not necessarily something that could be easily fully understood or empathized with if you didn't have that kind of shared experience. And I think what's really important for me is when I get clients who've come to therapy with me who have had disabilities, they've often said they've seen a counselor who just they spent most of their session explaining to the counselor like what they were experiencing, but when they came to the service that I provide, it's like, okay, you just get it. I don't need to sit here explaining myself for the majority of the session, and we can actually touch upon why I'm here. And then I think that really creates the difference between the service that we're trying to provide is that we really do have that lived experience where I think that that's invaluable on so many levels when you're relating to your client. I mean, as a therapist, you're taught the most important thing is the relationship. And to create a relationship, you have to create connection. You have to create that level of understanding and empathy between two people, and create what we would call a therapeutic alliance to really achieve great work. I mean, it's really about weighing things up. I mean, I had a lot of anxiety about starting work, paid work, and I've got a mortgage, and I think it's like you've got that level of responsibility, and obviously there's always the fear that your care might not turn up, or that like even your staff might be off sick, and then you might not get to work, and I just think it's about um sometimes it's just about taking chances. And I think I like for me personally, I think the the benefits of me working and what I get out of it outweigh the risks sometimes. Especially when I establish like a very good care team around me, and I know that I have like flexibility with like being my own boss. But I mean, I do also work for Babylon Health 3 days a week as well as like on my service. So I do have commitments to like other companies as well, and I think that I wouldn't commit to those if I didn't think I could achieve it. But I do think it's really important to have those goals. Well, I mean, obviously, like I described earlier, I worked in a lot of different settings, and when I first started out, I mean, I approached a lot of people. I went to a lot of like charities and explained my services. There was a lot of interest in what I was trying to achieve, and that really has only picked up over like the last few years. And I would say, because I mean, I think I've been going what for 7 years now. I would say it took me 2 years to really establish my my work. In the last 5 years has been like really great. And I've just really gone from like strength to strength. So, I mean, to have like 3 other therapists working for me as well, and to increase that again. And I mean, I'm hoping to continue to build on that, because I definitely think that there is demand for the service, and I really hope to get it to the point where maybe it can be funded in some way, because at the moment sometimes I do have people who are on direct payment, for example, who can access a service and use their direct payment, if that's something that they can negotiate, if they have a social worker who looks at the holistic care needs, not just the physical needs. And that's something I'm trying to promote as well, just to get the service out there, because I know that cost is always a factor with therapy if you go private. Um, well, it's kind of just been really organic, actually. The business has been growing itself. I basically, what I do is, over the past 5 years, I created a Facebook group for people who are interested or worked with like people with disabilities. So that included like counselors with disabilities. So I grew a network of people, because that's what was something that I was really struggling with. So like I was like, how am I going to grow this network of people, and how am I going to connect with people? And actually Facebook has done it for me. So then I can basically, as I get demand for the service, I can grow the service by just putting an advert in there and advertising, and then like basically recruiting from that point. And that's actually been really invaluable. So now I've got a short list of people who are ready to step in and be part of the service if demand it kind of grows. And I think actually that makes it incredibly easy for me to just kind of grow it organically when I do have demand. But I mean, I really would like to create it into a therapeutic hub, which is completely disability led. I think like your own organization is just such a wonderful thing. I think it's really important that we have some ownership as well of the service that we're providing and what we do, because I think that uh, that is what puts it, like, makes it unique, and that's what sets it aside from other services. And I think that's for me as well, as a disabled individual, that's really important.